your Friday edition of Wasatch Weekends. We love getting to be here each and every weekend day to bring you so much wonderful information about our community, but we're really excited for the new expansion of Wasatch Weekends. We'll be here every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday with a new hour-long edition of Wasatch Weekends every Saturday, so make sure that you tune in. That way we can bring you so much great information about what's taking place in and around our community. Now we're going to introduce you to Katy Wang on today's episode to talk all things Park City Film, as they've got a great Mother's Day movie that you are not going to want to miss. And I have watched the trailer and it has pulled on all my heartstrings, so I hope you get out there and enjoy it. Then we're going to introduce you to a fabulous author of this wonderful coming-of-age book, Nigeria Jones. You're not going to want to miss out on this either, because she has done such a good job taking herself back to being a 16-year-old and making sure that teenagers have this empathy almost through the book. So you're going to want to stay tuned for the next little bit of Wasatch Weekends. We're going to take a look at that local weather forecast, and then we've got more after this break.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to the show. Now, if you're looking for a great way to get out and celebrate Mother's Day this weekend, well then Park City Film has got you covered, and I'm joined by Katy Wang so we can talk about the incredible film they're showing this weekend. Good morning, Katy.
Good morning. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's always nice to sit down and chat with you, and especially because you guys have done such a good job curating all of the films throughout your kind of busy season. You're about to take a little hiatus, but you've picked a very special film for the weekend of Mother's Day.
Absolutely. So the film we have this weekend is called 1001. It won the Grand Jury Prize this year at the Sundance Film Festival, and it is just an amazing story. I mean, it's almost hard to describe how incredible it is. As a native New Yorker, which is where it takes place, there's like a little bit of just like it's home and seeing New York in the 70s, kind of the parallel story to this mother and son. Tiana Taylor plays a woman who's kind of down on her luck and just trying to you're living life on her own terms, but, life is always not kind to her. You see her in prison in the beginning, and she gets out, for a minor infraction, and she sees her son who's in foster care and decides that she's going to kind of break all the rules and take him under her wing again and that let them be together. So it takes him out of the foster care system, not with permission, but on her own terms, said, and ends up, he's 6 years old. And so it's this beautiful story of how they grow up in this city that's gentrifying around them. And you see kind of New York and all of its grit and glory in Harlem and some of the outer boroughs, and just how life has become so complicated, as a single mother getting by, as a Black woman, as a Black man, how the world is sometimes, you feel like the world is stacked against you. And certainly in the 80s, as things were gentrifying, there was a lot of, discrimination within the police force against young Black men. I mean, certainly that's not changed much, but at that time it was quite heightened. So you're seeing kind of what's going on in the times, but also how their relationship evolves. Like what makes a family, that bond between mother and son. So absolutely, for Mother's Day, it is a celebration of, the trials, the tribulations, but also just that deep joy and beauty of being a mother.
I watched the trailer, and this is going to be one of those movies that you laugh at, but then you also have these moments where it pulls on every single heartstring possible and makes you cry. And it also, like you said, it's going to show that connection between her and her son and how they do end up growing up together. And that's one of the things I think is so cool about parents, is you have to grow with your children. So as your kids are growing up, you yourself are growing up as well.
Right. And then how do you share the lessons that you learned when you were growing up? But the world has changed for all of us, right? Like as we age, my childhood in the 70s and 80s is very different than my children's childhood now, right? And so the same in the movie is that you see the world changing around them, and how do you keep up with the times in a way that's meaningful, but also not lose that knowledge that you gained as you were growing up. And so it is this kind of beautiful story, I think, that everyone can connect to, whether or not you have children. We all are children, right? We all have parents, but just to see how that looks from both perspectives, both from the child's perspective, but also from the mother's perspective.
And this is going to be playing this weekend for people to get out there and enjoy. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evening. What time can people expect to come see the great film?
So Friday and Saturday at 7, and then again Sunday at 6. So you can join us on Mother's Day evening. I wouldn't say eve. You can also join us on Mother's Day Eve on Saturday, but on the evening of Mother's Day, take mom out, get some great brunch, and then come enjoy a fantastic film. As I said, it won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. We're actually already sold out for our Friday night showing. So if you do want to come see the film, please consider joining us on Friday or Saturday nights, as Friday is sold out. And you can get your tickets in advance online at parkcityfilm.org, or we also open up the box office an hour before showtime. And given that we have the Friday night sellout, Saturday and Sunday, I would say the walk up to the box office, there'll be plenty of space. We'd love to have you join us if you have a last minute change of plans, or just want to bring some more friends and family along with you to enjoy this incredible film.
And then, of course, you guys are still running some of these fabulous partnerships with some of the great restaurants. So if you're looking for a Mother's Day idea, you could grab an early bite to eat, maybe do a lunch, go home, get changed, relax, and then come to the film Sunday evening.
Absolutely. So if you go to parkcityfilm.org and check out the webpage for the film page for this film, for 1001, you can get information on our restaurant partners. We have 10 different restaurants that we're partnering with, from Kimball Junction all the way up into downtown Park City. Spend $50 or more, which in this town, you just walk through the door and you've already spent it. A couple appetizers, you're good to go. And then you get 2 free tickets to Park City Film, plus free popcorn. And the great thing about it is that not only do you get this beautiful kind of thank you for supporting our local restaurants by getting free tickets to Park City Film, you're also helping to support our local economy. Restaurants, some of them are closed during the off season. All of our partners are still open. So it's a great way to just keep the economy going, help our restaurants survive and thrive through the low season, and then of course be back to greet us in the summer months when the tourists return.
And the Bring Your Own Bowl popcorn bar is the perfect place to celebrate, get your dessert on, and enjoy Mother's Day.
Absolutely. Bring enough, big enough bowl for 2, so you can figure out what mom wants and what you want, or if you are a mom, what your kids might want, or just take your own. It's fine. You can be selfish. It's free refills. You can have mom's delight. And then, if you decide you want to do something different, mix it up the next time, we're happy to help you out there.
Which is so amazing, and you guys do such a good job of selecting these films. Now, since this one did win Sundance, and it has already aired in Park City once, or played in Park City once, why are you guys deciding to bring it back?
Well, it's one of those, it's always interesting with Sundance. People always ask me, when you go to Sundance, like, what should I pick? What movie should I see? And certainly I have a good sense of what films are coming in, given my job as programmer. But I always find, almost without exception, for the past 20 years, my favorite film of the festival is always the one I least expect. It's always a free ticket that I got last minute, or my last choice as I'm picking my films, like, oh, I think this will be good, but, it's kind of the 10th choice or 20th choice. But so I'll just throw it on the list and see how it goes. Absolutely, with 1001. It was that film that it won. I got to see it during the award winners the last weekend. And so it was a film that I hadn't really, when I'd first read it, was like, oh, sounds interesting, but, let me look at some other things. And when I saw it, I was blown away. And so I want to make sure that I'm sure other people had that same experience of, well, maybe this, looking at other things, and maybe this wasn't on their top 5 choice or whatever when they're doing their ticket collection, but it absolutely should have been. It deserves this award, hands down. It is one of the best films I saw at the festival. And so a lot of times when we bring films back, one, people don't always get to see the films during festival for whatever reason. And then a lot of times people just say, you know what, I don't even participate in Sundance because I know you're going to bring back all of the best films. So I'm just going to wait till it comes to Park City Film. So we do take that seriously, that people do look to us to say, we just want to hear what you recommend. We want to know what you've seen and you have liked. And then that will be what we then end up seeing from the festival. So it's kind of that push and pull of that. Yes, it was here during Sundance, but we also know that not everyone has an opportunity to see the films during the festival. And the ones that are exceptional, like 1001, absolutely deserve to be seen a second time, or for the first time, and to share it with your friends and family. So that's that opportunity that we're creating this weekend for everyone here.
Which is such a great way for people to maybe not have to deal with the hustle and bustle of Sundance because it can get a little wild in the community. But this is a great way for them to enjoy these masterpieces that people have spent so much time, put so much dedication into bringing to life here at Park City Film. Now, do you guys have an underwriter for this film specifically?
So our underwriter for this weekend is Summit County Rap Tax. They are a fantastic supporter of the arts in our community, and it's the 1% or like 0.5% of revenue that's generated in the community. So when you're out and about, if you live, work, or play in Summit County, a portion of your expenditures come back into the community in the form of our arts organizations. And so we're very fortunate to be a recipient of the Summit County Rap Tax grant, and that helps to support all of our films throughout the year, and they're the supporter for the film this weekend. So a big thanks to them for their support and to the community for, spending money in our community. So that's another incentive to go out into the restaurants and spend a little money, help keep the economy going, but then also help our nonprofits get some great grants at the end of the year as well.
Which is something that is so important, and you guys are such a wonderful nonprofit in the community. Now, we are almost out of time, but you guys are gonna take a little hiatus, so let's talk just a little bit about this hiatus and what people can expect for the upcoming weeks.
Sure. So we are closed starting May 15th and we'll be reopening on June 9th. And the reason we're closed is we are replacing all of the seats in our theater. Finally, yay, very excited. We've been working on this for quite some time, about 5 years. But thanks to the support received from Summit County Restaurant Tax, from Park City Municipal Corp, and from Utah Division of Arts and Museums and the Utah Legislature, we are replacing all the seats in the theater, but we are not just replacing what we have with the same, we are redoing all of the sight lines. So it'll be a different seat pattern, so you'll have better visibility of the screen, you won't be staring at the back of someone's head any longer, it'll increase comfort, accessibility, and then we're also repainting the floor, which is exciting, redoing the curtains. So it's basically a little facelift, if you will. So it was a 3-week intermission. And then we'll be back with Chevalier, which is a fantastic film in June, and we'll be open for 3 more weeks in June, which we normally aren't, to make up for our closure.
Which is so incredible, and it's so exciting to have any kind of work done where you can just become more comfortable, and you get to see wonderful organizations such as yourself get that little bit of like incentive to just get more people in the door, because it is going to be comfier and easier to see the screen, like you said.
Absolutely. We spent over $200,000 this year upgrading the theater, the screen, the seats. So it will be a much improved experience, and we can't wait to show it off to everyone.
Katy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, giving us all this great information, and thanks for picking such a special film for Mother's Day.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure that you go to parkcityfilm.org. That way you can see all of the upcoming films, but you can buy your tickets online for this incredible film that is going to celebrate the love that a mom has for her son. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. We have the chance to speak with a best-selling and award-winning author, Ibe Zoboy. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, you just released an incredible young adult novel, and you have done such a good job in your career really highlighting some of the challenges of these coming-of-age books. And so let's talk about Nigeria Jones.
Yes, Nigeria Jones tells the story of a 16-year-old girl coming to terms with different parts of her identity. She's questioning how she was raised, she's questioning her family, and she goes to a new school for the first time because she was raised as a vegan and homeschooled, and that's a brand new experience for her. And I want kids like her to see themselves in the pages of a book. And if they didn't grow up like Nigeria, I want them to have empathy for kids who kind of had different experiences from them.
Which I think is such a great learning opportunity, because you never know what someone is going through. And a lot of kids these days keep a lot of things to themselves because we have access to things like the internet, where you can find anything out very quickly about someone. And so it's hard when you're making a change like this. And what a great opportunity you're giving kids to relate to a wonderful character.
Absolutely. I want to reiterate what you said. You never know what someone is going through. And oftentimes you can step into the shoes of someone else by reading a book. And this is why I write for young people, because it lets them know that one, they're not alone, and two, there are other kids going through different things, and to have empathy and open their hearts to people who seem different, people who seem weird, people who seem like they just are not part of this world. And that's a theme in many of my books.
Now, let's talk about your career as a writer because you've written a lot of incredible books. You do focus on writing for the teens and the children to really kind of talk about these heavy-hitting topics that sometimes aren't always touched in school. And so some of the topics of Nigeria Jones are racism and feminism, and that's something that we kind of have a hard time talking to our kids about.
Absolutely. I write for young people to provide the books that they can get from the library or buy from on their own. Because when I was 16 years old, I had to read all these books that I wasn't interested in. And I'm all for the classics. But when I wanted to take a break from those sorts of like heavy hitting stories that weren't even from my time, I wanted to fall into the pages of a book where the character was very similar to me. The character was maybe different from me, but I was learning something about the world and I felt connected to the experiences of the characters in the book.
Now, why do you think it's so important for kids to explore reading other books than what's just recommended at school? Because they do have the opportunity to connect with these characters.
I think when they're going through so much, when they are so confused about what's going on around them, it's so important to read. It's so important to understand other people. And in understanding other people, they could begin to understand themselves. And I do not want to make those kids who are reading invisible. They are out there. They are on these apps. They are on these phones, but they're also reading. And if they were not reading, I would not have the job that I have now.
Now, as an author who's written many books, what has been your inspiration throughout your career?
My own 16-year-old self. I remember being young. I'm a parent as well, and I'm an educator. My husband is a high school teacher, and we're always talking about young people and teens and what they go through. But I don't write my books as a mom, wagging my finger. I write with empathy and understanding, but I also bring wisdom and just sort of guidance into my book. And young people and their passion and their fearlessness, even when they're confused about the world, they're my constant inspiration so that I can write books that will help be a guiding light from them.
I think that's so incredible, and I think even as adults, it's so nice to go back in time and read these young adult books because I don't know about you, but even in my grown-up age, I am still figuring my life out, and any guidance I can get or perspective or empathy I can gain from a book, I feel like helps me so much as an adult.
Oh, yes, that's so important that you said that young adult novels are not just for teens. It's really for 12 and infinity. I love YA books because you still can get some lessons in those books in a way that maybe you can't get from an adult book. I love just the newness of being 16, just this idea that you're not quite an adult yet, you don't have those responsibilities, so you're forced to sit with yourself in a way that a lot of adults can't. So I love living vicariously through a 16-year-old who is having brand new experiences.
I also love that, so I'm very excited to read your book because I'm an avid reader and I think it's so powerful when you can get these messages across. Now, if you had to give one piece of advice to a young author who is maybe aspiring to be just like you one day, what piece of advice would you give them?
Read, read, and read some more. This is the time that you have the time to read. I have to make time to read, and it's very hard to just curl up into a corner and fall into the pages of a book. I know young people are busy, but this is a time where you could just hide away from the world a little bit so that you are that much more smarter. You are that much more well read when you make the time to read a book.
Evie, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and I want to thank you for sharing the wisdom and the empathy with the world. We could all use a little more empathy in our day-to-day lives just to make the world a little bit better of a place, and you're spreading that through your written word, so thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Make sure that you go to your local bookstore and you check out Nigeria Jones. That way you can read Evie's incredible writing and you can go on this wonderful experience. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
We want to thank you so much for tuning into your Friday, May 12th edition of Wasatch Weekends. We love getting to be here each and every weekend day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and our newest edition, Mondays. We also love getting to be here for a full hour on Saturdays now. That way we can bring you so much information about what's taking place in our community, things that you can get involved in, and so much more. I've been your host, Maddie Evans, and I cannot wait to see you for the kickoff of the first hour-long Wasatch Weekends tomorrow. I'll see you then.